Spin to win. That was the theme of my first game, and something quite different came to my mind. And, along with 14,000 other people, I had to finish everything in just 1 week. My question was, how do I make a game about spin to win? I thought of many things that were likely part of a lot of people's childhoods here, including my own, but I didn't go with it. Maybe a lot of people in the competition had thought of the same thing. I wanted to be even more creative, and my biggest inspiration was Michael Jackson. But how can I turn that into something playable? After an exhausting brainstorming session, it was time to pick one of the ideas. And just like that, this was the game's first prototype. You had to keep spinning, spinning, and spinning, until the progress bar was full. To keep it from being totally boring, I introduced something new. The player moves in the direction opposite to the mouse cursor to make things harder. But little did I know that this would turn out to be one of my worst choices. But setting the gameplay aside for a moment, let's just jump to the aesthetics. I don't know why, but testing mechanics in such an empty space didn't feel right to me. First off, I needed to change that art, so I swapped it for something better looking. And then I filled that void with my beautiful art. But what's a show without an audience? Now, with our whole show ready, I needed one more thing that every show needs. This was the first sound I made for the game. The game starts right before after it plays. Pretty simple, but it works. I couldn't imagine it to create a full soundtrack for the game at all. Given the tight deadline, I decided to let that slide. Instead, I created a really simple beat and set the game slide to change color on the beat. Actually, there was still more needed. I needed songs for when you fall off the stage, disappear from the audience, and when you win. That was one actually easy to find. I immediately remembered of a clip of Michael Jackson falling off the stage, and it fits the game so well that it actually took me by surprise. For this one, I wanted the player to really feel like they were being booed by the audience, and so I found a really good sound. And I used it for when you fall off the stage as well. And for this one, it was the same deal as the other one. And just like that, I was done with the sounds. One problem every creator faces at some point is not knowing if the game is actually fun. And the only way to find out is Steam. And yes, I would have to interact with people the same way. I started asking for feedback everywhere I could until I finally got some. And most of the comments focused on one specific thing. Look, I played this more than 20 times and I didn't understand what I was supposed to do, or even how to control the character. The problem was pretty obvious. Remember that mechanic I created to make things harder? That was the problem. People didn't understand how it worked. Some suggested adding a tutorial, others said I should completely change how it functioned, but my goal as a designer is to figure out what they really mean by that. Then, somewhat spontaneously, I came up with a completely restructured the mechanic. On top of that, I added a basic tutorial with simple music at the start. But even with all of that, people didn't understand what the object actually was. So, I'm leaving that part to you. In the end, I think what this first of 50 game jams taught me was, maybe I'm not very good at explaining mechanics. With that said, see you!